After high school, I went to school for 2 years, and I was hopefully learning how to be a secretary. I looked around and I thought, I do not want to be a secretary. I haven't even learned how to type in 2 years. This was definitely not something I wanted to do. I had a girlfriend. Girlfriend and I, we were, I guess, kind of the rebels at that time. I was going to school in Boston, and she and I just kind of clicked, and we started to break out of the mold. We used to hitchhike around Boston. It was easier than taking the MTA or the bus. We decided that we really needed to see the world together, and the airlines were hiring. They were hiring lots of people at that time because stewardesses only stayed for 6 months, basically. And we went for interviews, and we were both hired by the airlines. And 6 months later, we were living in New York in an apartment with all the freedom we had always wanted, with everything at our disposal except a lot of money. But it was great. I mean, we had managed, and I felt that I had managed to break out of the mold that was always set in front of me. And I can remember, first of all, telling my parents that I was going to be a stewardess. They were appalled at the idea. And then I went back to my high school, and I went to a Catholic high school, and I told the head nun that I was going to be a stewardess, and I thought she was going to just fall right off of her chair. She thought it was the worst thing in the world that I could possibly be doing, and that I was damned to a life of sin, and I was going to hell. And she told me that, sitting there. It was, but it was what I had to do to break out of the mold that I had fallen into, and I knew at that time that I was not going to probably settle down with the white picket fence and have lots of kids. I was still thinking about marrying my high school sweetheart at that time, but I knew in the back of my mind that this had been more of a break for me than just a career. It was a whole lifestyle break, and that I probably would not end up marrying these people, and I wasn't even sure at that point that I ever wanted to have children. What I thought I was getting into when I became a stewardess in the 60s was to be independent, first of all. That was the main thing, independent. I had spent a lot of time traveling back and forth from Boston to Rochester as I went to school, and I liked, it was probably superficial, but I liked the way they looked, and I liked the freedom that I thought they had and the exciting lives I thought they had. I thought it looked glamorous, and the uniforms were wonderful. Then they flew on jet airplanes and had the opportunities that never could be imagined. So by breaking out of that mold, I had all of this at my disposal. However, when I arrived there, it was not quite the way I thought it was going to be. I think what started with the airlines in the 60s and progressed into the 70s before the women's movement really put a clamp on it was that I'm Cindy, fly me. It was an exploitation of women, young, innocent females, because at that time you could not be married. You had to be single. It was, the airlines used the stewardess as an advertising gimmick that would lure male passengers. We had a flight that went from Newark to Chicago, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and if you were not a man, you could not book on that flight. It was an all-men's flight. We gave out free liquor, free cigars, and little prizes. It was a gimmick, and the stewardesses on that flight were part of the gimmick to attract the passengers. When when you signed on for this life of liberation, you actually were signing in blood, because your life was not liberation. When you went in for your trip, your appearance was checked, but not only your appearance, but you were asked and sometimes pinched to make sure that you were wearing a girdle. The rules and regulations were like the military. Shoes polished, nails done, hair groomed in a certain way. Our hair could not be any longer than chin length. There were some girls who did have longer hair, but they had to wear wigs. It was extremely regimented. The airline had expectations for both on-the-job performance and also off the job, and they were a part of your life whether you were on the airplane or not. You could not be married, and you had to resign when you were 32 years old. If you, for some reason, did become pregnant, they were helpful in finding an adoption agency. No one would be told. It would be totally secret. If you wanted to have an abortion, they would know about it.